Every single day, billions of people type google.com and press enter. But have you ever wondered how does your computer know where Google is? How does it find one specific server among billions of devices that are connected to the internet? And also all those things happens within a milliseconds and the web page appears. So yeah, in this video we are going to see about the complete journey of a request, how it goes from your keyboard, follows all the route to the Google server and it's back to your browser. So once again, hello everyone, welcome back to Coding by Pawan. If you are learning about the full stack web development, then understanding like how the internet actually works is very fundamental thing. Today, most of the developers use API, browsers and websites every day. But there are only few who truly understand how and all things happen behind the scenes. So let's discuss what happens whenever you type google.com. First of all, your browser is there and browser will try to ask question to itself, do I know the address of the google.com? We are talking about the address of the Google server. So Google server address, this is basically asked by the browser itself. So how will browser know this particular address? So this happens only when if you have visited Google recently, okay, then they try to store this particular information into cached memory. Cache is basically a temporary memory of browser. Temporary memory you can say. So browser has its own temporary memory, or it's known as cached memory, in which it tries to find the IP address of the Google. IP address of Google. If this IP address is found, then the next step that we are going to discuss, that is DNS resolution, is skipped. Okay, if the IP address is from the cache itself, then this particular step will not happen. If the browser has not stored, like you are trying to open google.com on your browser for the very first time, then it will happen that browser doesn't know this particular IP address, and for that it will try to look into the DNS lookup. Okay, so DNS is basically a domain name server. DNS is stand for domain name server. It is considered as an internet phone book, similar to the phone book that you have in your mobile. If you want to store some friend's contact number, then you store in a phone book. Why? Because it is tougher to remember the phone number of each of your friend. So what you do, you save that using your name of the particular friend, and corresponding to that you have their mobile number. Similarly, the machines or the computers on the internet, they understand IP addresses, not the domain name. This is a domain name that we understand, or the humans understand the domain name, and these are IP address. IP addresses, each device that is connected to the internet is having a unique IP address. Okay, and it is very hard for us to remember these IP addresses. That's why DNS come into picture, and they store the mapping of domain to the IP address. So first thing that happens whenever you hit google.com into the browser, browser will send a request to DNS, and this particular DNS will try to look it up into the phone book. Okay, it will try to look up into the phone book and find the IP address of Google, and it will return back to the browser. So that is the first thing that happens on. Okay, now browser understands or browser has found the Google's IP address, then a connection has to be established between the browser or your computer and the server. Okay, so that is known as established connection. Browser tries to establish a connection between the server. So first of all, browser sends a request asking, hey, can we connect? Similar to you are talking with your friend, and first of all you call and ask, hey, can we connect, or can we have some discussion, or can we talk? Similarly, the browser asks to the server, can we connect? Then server acknowledges that and send back an acknowledgement that yes, we can connect, we can. Then again, and it is acknowledged by the browser, and browser comes to know the server is ready for the connection. Then it says let's connect, and then the connection is established here, and then the browser will try to send the request to the server. Whenever browser talks to Google, the communication is secure. You can see a particular lock like this into the browser. What it means, like it says that HTTPS, that the method, that is a method we can discuss on detail. If you want, I can create a video on HTTPS. It helps us make the connection private and secure so that the connection is ready and the actual request can be sent. So this is basically one of the method, you can say, by which the browser connects with the server. Now the browser sends an HTTP request to the server asking, hey, can you return the home page? Here you can say a get method. This is basically a request like, can you send me the data? Okay, get, for now you can understand, get is basically asking about the data. If a browser requires some data, then it make a get request to the server. Now all this request travels to your router, then it goes to the ISP, you can say internet service provider, then it goes to your C cables, the data centers and so, and then it reaches to the actual server of the Google. And then Google starts processing your request. First of all, it will try to check the database, the preference of the user, content is generated, and then HTML files. There are different files that got prepared. HTML is for structure of the content. Then we have the CSS files, which is for styling, and then the JavaScript file, which is for making the web page interactive. All these files are created and then a response is built up on the server using these files, and those are sent back to the browser. Browser receives this particular request, okay, and then uses it for displaying it on the web page. What browser does? Browser combine all these three things, which is HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and based on that it renders the web page on the screen. So this is how the entire workflow works on. Okay, browser receiving this particular data, combining all these three files, which are for HTML for structure of the content, CSS for styling, and JS or JavaScript for making the web page interactive. Based on that, browser renders the web page on the UI, and you are able to see Google home page. Okay. So yeah, that is the entire thing. Let us try to recap it. Browser is theirs, which is trying to first find the IP address. IP address that can be found from two things, either cached or the DNS. It will try to look up into those things and try to find the IP address. Then it will establish a connection to the server. Then send a request. Request is sent to the server. Server process that data and then sends back a response to the browser, and the browser receives this response in form of HTML, CSS and JavaScript file, and then renders Google on the home page. Okay, so that is the entire flow. If you like this video, do follow me on YouTube as Coding by Pawan, Insta as well. If you want a special video like HTTP or HTTPS you want to understand in detail, then you can comment in. I will try to give a separate video on HTTP, HTTPS or understanding about the different IP addresses.